All right, and welcome to the Bold Strong podcast program. Today I have Ryan Richardson with me. And Ryan Richardson's the owner of Ignite Fitness. I've known Ryan for a few years now. He's in town for the CPA Winter Natural Show. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
This is a reboot. We're going to just start recording again.
Take two.
Excellent. You have a bunch of athletes in the show. You have 4 athletes in the show.
I do. I have 2 bikini athletes, 1 wellness competitor, and 1 figure competitor.
Excellent.
4 females.
Excellent. And are they seasoned or new, or where are they at in their career?
3 rookies, 3 brand new ones, coming in actually great shape. I'm super impressed with the rookies and then of course my veteran. I believe she's. Maybe I shouldn't say her age. Well, we'll just leave the names out.
Yeah.
I believe she's 52 or 53.
Oh, wow.
Figure competitor.
Wow.
Incredible shape. And she is ready to go.
That's incredible. And are they from Kelowna? Or are they from all over the place? Or?
I have an athlete. 2 are out of town. One is here in Calgary. 2 are in Calgary. 2 are out of town. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. So we were talking in our earlier version of this. How did you get into this? Like, you were competing before you got into the business of coaching. How did you get into it? And just remind us how you got into this game.
That's a good story. I never actually planned to be a coach. I had started the business with an ex-girlfriend who was also involved in the industry. She at the time was already posing with clients. She was a great athlete on stage, great poser, and she was helping a lot of girls. Yep. And we had a mutual friend reach out who was a personal trainer and said, "Hey, would you guys help out getting a client of mine ready for a show?"
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So I said, I'm not a coach, but I'm sure I could help, or I didn't charge her anything. I was just, I'm not a coach. I'm not going to, throw any money on the table. I said, we'll do it for free. So my ex there was able to, help the girl with the posing, and I got more involved in the diet. And by the time that prep was done, I had 3 clients.
Wow.
Which then turned into their friends from the gym, which then turned into their boyfriends and girlfriends and their friends and their mom and their dad. And here I am.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was running a contracting company at the same time. I'd moved out from Vancouver to run an office here, and that fully transitioned into coaching full-time now. So.
Wow. And in Kelowna.
I'm in Kelowna now.
It's home now. And were you in Edmonton, or where were you?
I was here in Calgary for 10 years.
You were in Calgary.
10 years.
Oh, okay.
So everything originated in Calgary.
Cool.
Yeah. So obviously the majority of my clientele is Alberta based as I was here. So.
And Kelowna's been good.
Kelowna's been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a whole new focus level for me. There's a lot of coaches down there.
Yeah.
A lot of guys in the same industry. A lot of bodybuilders. A lot of guys I surround myself with.
There's no CPA show there, is there?
There is. I actually
is there?
I have one.
Oh, no way.
April 1st in Kelowna. It's
really?
a BC natural. It's a natural show.
Yeah.
Run by Dean and Lee Brandt.
Okay. Oh, right. Yeah. Lee Brandt show.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I have 2 athletes in that one. One's actually in Kelowna, and the other is here in Calgary coming down.
Yeah. And WNBF runs a pro qualifier there as well.
WNBF had a show. They have a show every year. I actually had one. I don't coach too much for that anymore, but I did have one junior athlete in that last year. So
yeah, that was cool. Yeah. Very, very cool. And so, and I had asked you earlier, what's the, you've been coaching a long time. So what's the best part about the coaching experience?
As we discussed earlier, I think the biggest thing is just, that end result and, really taking that client or that athlete to that goal that they had set in mind, whether that be a fat loss goal, because I do obviously a lot of lifestyle. Yeah. The majority of stuff I do is contest prep, but the contest side of things is seeing that athlete pick up that trophy, seeing watching them, maybe it might not be a trophy, but watching them come across that stage and seeing and knowing where they started and where they were able to get to. And then, to top it all off is, that award, of course, just to, put the icing on the cake. And, as we discussed, now that, of course, we're getting into the pro leagues and now I've created a few pros, I think that the one that stands out for sure is, watching that first athlete that I had, Alfred, holding his pro card above his head. Yeah. So that's a pretty good feeling.
Exciting.
Pretty
exciting. Yeah. Alfred kind of, he was quite instrumental in me getting on stage, actually. So I probably up to the point I had met Alfred, and if someone had said, "Why don't you go compete?" I would have been like, "Nah, pointless." not ever going to do it. And then Alfred just kept pushing. Yeah. And then another friend of mine, she ended up competing, and then Alfred just kept pushing, and then, yep.
Here you are.
And he was emceeing the first show that I did too, which was kind of fun.
Oh, amazing.
So,
yeah, he's a great ambassador for the sport, for sure. And, and the thing is, not only is he a great ambassador from, a motivational standpoint, but, he knows what it takes.
Yeah.
He's that guy that, whenever he goes, Ryan, if I need to eat a bag of dirt, I'll eat a bag of dirt. We're going for this win. I know you got it in you to do whatever it takes, right? So he's one motivated guy, no matter the ups and downs through prep. He is focused and ready.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, he's fun to work with. And I think he competed in a pro show. It was in the fall last year, right? That was the
Atlantic Coast Pro.
Yeah, the Atlantic Coast Pro.
Yeah, I was actually out on a hunting trip, and I received a call from him. He had an original show booked, and his show canceled on him.
Yes, that's right.
And that was a tough conversation.
Yeah, that was the one that was supposed to be on a cruise ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it canceled on him. But we were able to obviously reschedule and put him into a show quite soon after.
Yeah.
Amazing pro debut. He was pretty stoked. I think we pulled I think it was a second place in one division, and I believe it was either a third or fourth in the second class. Wow. But again, as a pro debut, I couldn't be more than happy.
That's awesome.
He showed up. Yeah, he was ready.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Exciting. So, and there's lots of highlight. I think it's funny. I've worked with people, and maybe not even as their coach, but just kind of worked out with them and seen their journey. And you're right. Like when you see them on stage and they're doing so great, and you see them smiling and they're happy, and that's exciting. And then, man, that can bring me to tears every time. Like it's crazy. It's just like not much brings me to tears, but when I see someone who's worked for months and months and years even to get on stage, it's like, man, my heart just melts for that. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I don't cry. I mean, I would say one of the closest times that I was about to shed a tear, I had to probably hold it back, was one of my pro wins last year.
Yeah.
Or my pro card wins, I should say, at the Vancouver Pro Qualifier, where Cyril Gascon.
Oh, wow.
He picked up the Classic Physique Pro card in Vancouver.
Wow.
That was an emotional one. He went through a real tough time through the COVID situation. Everyone knew Cy. The time was coming, and the start of the year that COVID began, he started prepping with me in February. Well, COVID hit in March.
Yeah.
We went through. So of course, February hit. He's on a contest prep diet.
Yeah.
We went through 4 canceled shows with him that year.
Yeah.
He dieted on a contest prep diet. I mean, obviously we had our ups and our downs, and I had to keep obviously readjusting to stick with our, the schedule here and keep his health in check and keep him motivated and keep him going. But we had 3 canceled shows, and then the final one was in November of that year. So he had gone 10 straight months of dieting. And if anyone knows a contest diet, that's next level.
That's a lifetime, yeah.
Yeah, and we were mid-flight on the way to Toronto, and we had a friend come up to our aisle, and me and Cy were sitting beside one another, and they said the show's canceled. We flew into Toronto. Landed, went and got a dinner at a restaurant we were able to go into, and turned around and flew home the next day.
Wow.
And
was that the open show?
That was the Toronto Pro Qualifier.
Yeah. So my show was, I was going to the Natural Pro Qualifier. That was like the week later or 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And so I was watching, it was almost like this crazy movie of, we're changing venues, and we're changing venues, and we're changing venues. And so I was trying to stay ahead of it. And I thought, okay, well, at least we're in this town, and that's going to be fine. And then I was like booking a hotel, then canceling the hotel, and then booking another hotel, and cars and rentals, and it's like, ugh. And then I heard that the open show, that there was people in the hotel going to, I think they were even at tanning level, like where they were in the spray booth and the show gets canceled. And it's like, holy smokes, that is brutal.
I think within a 2-day span, I could be wrong, but within like a 2-day span, I think they changed the venue 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Like leading up, as they just kind of tried to keep navigating around what was going on.
Yeah.
We got word. We never actually went to the host hotel, but we got word that there was like authorities there and police officers, and they were really having to stop everyone from showing up because it's the biggest show probably in Canada that you're going to have some crowd control, and some pretty pissed off people. So
oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Well, I guess the reality is you don't want to be the mayor of whatever town it ends up in, and then 20 people get COVID and a couple die, and then you could have pulled the pin on it.
Whose fault is it? Yeah.
But
it was nice to see, like, we went through all that experience, and Cy was able to take a step back and have some time to relax, and I don't blame him. And he came back and he says, "Okay, Ryan, I'm ready to do this."
Let's do it.
And we fired up. We did the Alberta Open last year to begin. We picked up the first place finish in Classic, first overall in Classic. Cy was able to pick up the Dustin Cosman Award as well.
Oh, I was there for that.
Yeah,
I was seeing that show.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And he also picked up. Yeah, he also picked up a first place in men's physique as well.
Oh wow!
And then off to Vancouver it was.
Yeah.
And won the Classic Physique, won the pro card in that division, and on the same day actually won a first place finish at the Vancouver Pro Qualifier in Physique as well.
No way, did he?
And then we took so he had an eventful weekend. We decided to put him on the pro stage the next day as his pro debut. And we kind of had a choice. We're like, do we toss him in Physique or do we toss him in Classic?
Yeah.
And we said, you know what? No, you won it in Classic. No matter what happens tomorrow, let's do it in Classic.
Right.
And he pulled into the top 10 in the first show. So,
yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it was good.
At the pro level, can you have crossover to different categories, or are you into one category only?
You cannot cross over at the individual show, but you have to register for a single class.
Gotcha.
But you can switch classes. So, for instance, we had the ability to register on the next day in Physique if we wanted to.
Right.
But we chose Classic, and we went that direction.
That makes sense, I guess. I don't know. I guess I've always been. I was at one show one time where there was I was competing in Physique. And there was guys that I was competing against in Physique who also competed in Classic and bodybuilding. It's like, okay, well, what's the standard then for Physique if someone can compete in all three? I don't know.
Cy is a very good example of that. It's perfect you brought that up. We took him to a Kelowna show one year where the idea was he was already qualified for a Classic pro qualifier. And he said, "Ryan, I want to get my Physique qualification as well. So when we go to the Vancouver Pro Qualifier, this is a few years back, we can go and do both in the crossover." I said, "Perfect, let's go do it." So we went down to Kelowna, we showed up, and we had recognized that day is that the bodybuilding class wasn't too full.
Really?
And we said, you know what? Like, he's a classic guy. He knows bodybuilding poses. We're like, you know what?
That's awesome.
Let's have some fun. Toss you in
Just
there.
at the last minute? Goes into it?
So he went into it as a Physique competitor and went into the bodybuilding last minute. So turned around, won his bodybuilding class, placed first. He just has that physique. He's got a lot of round muscle belly, tight, tiny waistline.
Yeah.
He can, he's not a huge, dense guy, but his overall physique fits well within pretty much any category.
Wow.
So he ended up winning first place in Physique that day and won the overall Physique, and then of course ended up winning his bodybuilding class.
Wow.
So he's got first place finishes everywhere.
I could see that sort of happening with women, but I think it's harder with women because I think it's almost like the judging criteria is more clear with women. Like you have to have, like your legs have to be a certain, bikinis, you're not going to be striated, bodybuilding different.
I would agree.
Oh, yeah.
I would absolutely agree. I think that there's that clear division now between, say, a bikini and a wellness athlete, that big, thick bottom half. Yeah. Getting into the figure category, though, that big taper, that tight, tiny waist.
Right.
I think it's really evident. Some of the wellness competitors, are kind of crossing over to that figure side of things.
Yeah.
But sometimes I even find that the legs in the wellness are a little thicker than what they're looking for at that figure level.
Interesting.
And again, it really comes down to the posing.
Yeah.
If, for instance, like looking back between bodybuilding classic and Physique, a structure is key.
Right.
We can all agree that it comes down to a lot of structure. Then what have you built on that structure?
Right.
But I mean, a classic guy with that tight, tiny little waist, big, broad shoulders, thick delts, thick arms.
Yeah.
Can do just as well in classic as long as he's got his wheels,
Right.
as he can in physique, right? And it's hard to determine saying are you physique or you're classic because they're so close.
Yeah, and I guess there's some bearing on who else is at that show. Like if you're if you're going to look the most physique in the classic category, then you're not going to do great.
Well, for instance, I had an athlete a couple of years back there, a year back. Big, dense athlete.
Yeah.
And placed in, he did classic and physique. Well, he was told he was too big in both classes.
Oh, wow. Really?
He was. However, if you were to take the size that he is and now stand him next to a pro,
right,
he doesn't have that situation where he stands out anymore.
Right.
Now, the day that he showed up for the classic class and physique, there was a lot of smaller frames, a lot of smaller, competitors. So when you put a guy with as dense muscle as he has and as thick he is, he stands out, and they're like, "Oh, he looks too much like a bodybuilder."
Right.
Meanwhile, you can put him next to a pro classic guy and say, "Okay, he's not standing out like that anymore." Right. So you're right. It really comes down to who you're standing next to and what that does to your look.
Yeah. It was interesting in that very first show that I was in. I think it was. Who's the lady that is one of the judges in CPA? I forget her name, but she used to judge for the ABBA, and
Tara, no,
Tara, yeah,
love you, yeah.
So, and I don't know if it was her because it was my first show. I had no idea what was going on, and so there was one guy competing in physique with us, and he was big. He was probably enhanced, and he was just like the biggest guy in physique. They pulled him out and put him into classic, in the show. He had already been on stage, and they're like, "No, you're in classic now."
Oh,
it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if the judge sees the opportunity for it,
and he won.
He
won overall in classic. So
yeah. I think a lot of athletes get in their own head too. Am I big enough? Can I do it?
Yeah.
Am I? What should I do? Yeah. But again, a lot of this judging, it comes down to a lot of structure, and now what have you built on that structure, right? So it's not necessarily all about the weight anymore and being the biggest guy up there, right? Yeah. Which I'd like to see. But someone like myself as a competitor, I was never going to be 260 pounds.
Yeah.
But I was only able to work with the frame that I had, and stepping back, Cyril winning that pro card last year, winning it as a classic A competitor.
Yeah.
Looking at the guys in B and C and D, these guys are 40, 50 pounds on them.
Yeah.
And so he's standing side by side, holding his own, not only holding his own, beating them and winning his card when they got 40 pounds of muscle on them. So it's a lot. So structure's key.
Yeah. That's crazy. What happened out of you had mentioned COVID. What was the big shift out of COVID? So everyone had to go work out at home. Gyms are shut down forever. Shows were shut down. Now we're kind of transitioning out of COVID. So what are you seeing? What's the trend now?
I think the comfort level is back. I think that took a lot to come back. I mean, my business, of course, as any coach did, and anyone in this industry and owning a gym or whatever, we all took some massive losses. Yeah. As did everyone. We were all in the same boat. It was a lot of scrambling, working with an individual, the ones that wanted to stay on and, be accountable. Yeah. Some had home gyms, some had their friend's gym that they were working out at, some had a pair of bands that they bought off of Amazon. Yeah. So, it was a struggle to kind of keep them motivated, keep them going. But at the same time too, my own mental state is, me keeping clear-headed, watching myself go from, 100 plus athletes down to 20. Yeah. Less maybe at some points. Yeah. And so I'm trying to motivate others, and my business is taking a crash, and there's literally no control I have over this because people are just dropping left and right. Yeah. And not that I drop it as far as just say, hey, listen, there's no point in me getting coached right now. I can't do anything with it. Yeah. Now beyond that, I think what took a while is that because there were so many canceled shows as we dealt with going through the COVID situation, it really worried about people going, oh, if I start, is this going to get canceled? Right. I think we needed to see a little bit of a transition time to bring back that confidence that shows we're going ahead. Right. And now that we've seen that time, last year, really things, took a turn and came back strong. Yeah. I'm seeing it come back even stronger now. It's bringing in even like more new athletes, more competitors that, that stood back and took the time during COVID to kind of relax and do their own thing and, deal with their own situations that they had going on. But now that everyone's kind of settled,
right,
all those ones are all coming back now, right? So, you're seeing a huge influx of, I'm sure, and we'll see it on these stages this year.
Yeah. I think it's funny when you're on Instagram or any of the social media and you're seeing all of these posts of athletes in their basement and you're seeing the undrywalled wall and there's just like raw insulation behind them. It's so funny. I think Kara trains in her basement, Kara Shorn. She's in her basement.
I have seen pictures of her training in her basement. Me personally, I trained in a few of those with just your plastic sheeting and your your insulation and your studs everywhere.
Yeah,
that's where we set up.
Congratulations, that's awesome. If you can pull it out, that's good. Actually, there was a lady. I was at a WNBF show, and this lady had never trained in a gym, and I think she came like second.
Wow,
she'd never been in a gym.
Wow,
only at home.
I do have one athlete, my figure athlete this weekend.
Wow.
She trained, I believe she trained her entire prep at home.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's tough, man, because there's no hip thrust machine. You probably don't have a Smith machine. Like there's a lot of equipment that makes it easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, for her, it was just finding alternatives.
Yeah.
And the alternative wasn't available. Buying the machines to make work, right?
Yeah.
So that was her comfort level, and we it worked, and she's showing up ready. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. So it'll be a fun show. The one of the things that we look at now, and it's kind of one of the trends that come out, and we all know the Liver King kind of exposes himself, and I guess I was curious what your thoughts were, and like in the gym that I work out at. It seemed to me, and maybe this is my anecdotal study only, but it seemed that once there's some momentum behind people being very open now about what they're using as far as performance enhancing drugs is. And do you think it's like, what do you think is the impact of these well-known athletes, coming out and saying, "Yep, I'm doing it"? Like, is it a positive as in we're exposing what's, the reality of what's really happening, or is it a negative that we're possibly encouraging people to, do stuff that they thought maybe they didn't have to do at some point? Or like, where do you see it going now that people are more open about what's going on?
I do look at it as a positive light. I think it's, what you see on Instagram is not always what you get. And, there's a lot of fake stuff out there. Mm-hmm. Everything from the Photoshop photos to, the claim of a natural athlete, and, I think it's creating more of an understanding that some of these levels that these physiques are being taken to, and these people are where they're taking their physique to, that a lot of the time that, these transformations become unrealistic. Yeah. To the average natural athlete versus someone who's using enhancements and tripling their progress. So, people are maybe they're deterred from saying, well, something's wrong with my coach. He's not getting me to where I need to be.
I saw this picture on Instagram.
Yeah, they did it. They did it in 3 months. I put on 60 pounds of muscle, and I went to the O2 gym overseas, and here I am, right? Yeah. But I think that it's just opening up a lot of the doors for people to be open and honest, and I think it's creating again a positive atmosphere where it's setting the idea that is it possible to have these wild transformations? Yes, but this is what I did to get there.
Yeah.
Now, it's not going to those the steroid use is not going to be for everyone. I mean, for my athletes, it's always a personal choice.
Yeah.
I'll provide the direction if they're going that direction, but if not, then we keep them as natural athletes.
Yeah.
But they have to also be aware that what the progression of them is going to be versus an enhanced athlete.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest struggles that I have with a natural athlete versus an enhanced athlete, or I shouldn't even say the differences, but that natural athlete will sit at home and watch Instagram and compare themselves to the best of the best.
Right.
And generally compare themselves to an enhanced athlete. and saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, but I'm not taking anything.
Yeah.
You know, and so these levels of these physiques are showing up at the Olympia level and things like that. You know, these pro show levels and the people who are winning their pro cards. Not to say that they're all on anything, but a majority are.
Sure.
And but I think it's creating a little bit of a false expectation to that natural athlete, and kind of brings them down a little bit, saying, "Why am I not like that?"
Yeah.
You know,
I think the challenge that I experience with it is that everything you see on any social media is, how do you get bigger? Like, what's the, you know, how do I get bigger biceps, legs, you know, whatever the case is. And then they lay out a program, and then even in the studies, which is shocking, you see, you know, like a lot of the evidence-based guys, you know, they're saying, okay, well, all you got to do is just change the angle of your elbows and suddenly you're going to get bigger. And all the studies are clearly showing this progression that you can just automatically get by changing one exercise, you know. And it's like, I don't know, I've been doing this an awful long time, and I don't think I'm doing this anymore. I think I'm maybe this and maybe this and maybe that. But it's not like, and I think it's a tough for natural people. Well, anybody. It doesn't matter if natural or not, because not everyone responds the same way to anything.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's a tough message. It's, everyone thinks they're just going to get bigger. Every time you walk in the gym, you walk out a little bit bigger. No. It's not the case at all.
No, you're right. There's nothing linear about this. You know, we're going to have our ups and downs and our valleys and our peaks. And, you know, the thing is, what we want to look at is the longer term, right? Yeah. And, you know, I think everyone wants that result yesterday. Yeah. No one's willing to say, okay, how good can I be in 2 years? Yeah. And if you were to kind of track your progress over the course of 1 week and watch that linear, watch that line, and seeing it might be linear that week. Yeah, because that's only 1 week out of 2 years. Yeah. But now if we watch and we see that, we graph that, and we see your progression over the course of 2 years, what that actually looks like, you know. Yeah. Again, people are to have this expectation to go win and place first in their first show and win win the pro card the first time. Yep. It took me 6 shows to get to a provincial level within BCBA. And back then we all had some screws loose. Yeah, you know, the competitors back then were the guys that are just the anomalies in the gym. Like, you know, no one competed. It was small. Right. And you know what it did, though, is it made these shows extremely tough. Because even at an amateur level, it was real hard. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you know, it's kind of opened up to be more of the fad idea, right? And my friend did it, so I want to do it. Right. And, you know, I want to commit. I want to be the Instagram star, and, you know, and then the other people who are like, you know, like those real strong competitive athletes. Like, I want to see what I'm made out of. I want to get up there. I want to see. I want to win. I'm going to do what it takes. So it's there's lots to look at.
What do you think about, you know, it's always an interesting conversation. It's the whole why of this. Like, why do we even do this in the first place? And then, you know, at one level you might say, well, I want to push. It's my own experience to push myself. I want to experience something really hard. And other people are like, I'm a competitive person, so I just need to be doing something competitive, and I'm testing myself. And it was interesting because I've worked with a couple people who they weren't going to win, you know, and like now you got to deal with someone who knows they're not going to win. What's the why there anymore? And is it just like, are you using this as I don't know. I think this is an interesting one where you use a bodybuilding show as a weight loss target. And so I want to lose 30 pounds, and I've said I'm going to be on stage 30 pounds from now in 6 months. And I was like, wow. So what's the why, do you think? Like, it's kind of a weird one. I don't know if it's even possible to answer it.
My business is results based, you know, what I produce and what I get on stage. And I'm going to ensure that if you know, you're going to hire me as your coach, that we're going to work until we're at that level. So,
right. I'm a terrible loser.
Yeah, same. I'll pretend. I'll pretend like I'm just enjoying it, but you know, behind the scenes,
yeah. I look at stage shots. If I don't come first place, I look at stage shots, and it takes me like months before I can look at them and say, yeah, I get it. I cannot see it initially. It's so weird.
I think we could also agree that there's a lot of times that sometimes we will just never get it.
No,
you know, right. I mean, it was all about who was on that show that day, and you know what the judges were looking for that day, and you know what the criteria was, and you know sometimes we can throw our hands in the air and be like, "What happened?" Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think you know, the strive to be better, the strive to, you know, bring a better package, and you know, and put yourself in a better position to win. I think that drives a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
it's just I'm not taking second place. I want that first now. Yeah. So bring it back next year.
Yeah, I love the competitive nature of it. I think it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
What's like when we look at we mentioned ladies and the different categories that they're into, and you've been doing this long enough. I'll ask you, has there been a shift towards how women work out and the attention to the glutes and the legs now more so than there was? Because I've seen shows from the initial Olympia bikini. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa, it's not what we're looking at now.
No.
Because that's just that's what everyone looks like. I don't know if you've seen the original Olympia bikini winner. I should have brought it up.
Yeah.
Wow. Very different than what's today.
I think because of getting into the performance enhancements, mm-hmm. and getting into what as time has progressed here, what we're seeing and what's possible. Mm-hmm. It's changed a lot of how our judging criteria goes now.
Yeah.
A really good example is look at the size of the men's physique guys now.
Yeah.
They're bodybuilders in board shorts.
100%.
And these wellness girls some of them look like bodybuilders in bikinis.
Yeah.
They are dense, packed, full of muscle. With the emphasis now on obviously something like a bikini, a little less in the quad, obviously more on the glute, more on the hamstring. That comes down to, of course, creating that separation between wellness and bikini, right?
Right.
But again, your top bikini athletes, even this past year's Olympia winner, amazing shape on her. She's not skinny. She's not just glute. She is top to bottom, well-rounded and well put together. So again, it's I think as bodies have evolved, as drugs have evolved, as as science has evolved, and recognizing how to speed this process up, we're seeing bigger and bigger and bigger physiques, and again, in order for the the judging to, or I should say, even I don't know how to word this. I think because of the evolution of the physiques, the judges have no choice but to change the criteria.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So it's really just figuring out what they want, and I think obviously, as we know through the CPA, the judging criteria is based on the Olympia wins,
right? And
it sets the precedent for that next and upcoming year, right? So, obviously, myself watching the Olympia this year, I was happy to see the decisions that were made and the direction that it's going this year for sure.
Yeah, I've thought a few times. I've often wondered if we went to a gym and Jen Dory or Laura Lee Chap was there, would we look at them and holy, that is clear, or will we say, oh yeah, it's another person working out? Because I've seen videos now, and we're a couple months later, it's it's still impressive, but they don't look like they look on stage pretty quick. It's amazing the difference over a couple months.
It is. I mean, there could be weight fluctuation.
Yeah.
It could just be that they're in a big baggy clothes.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? Those suits enhance a lot of the actual overall shape and structure, right? And how they're positioned, and
right.
And then again, as we get back to that conversation about structure,
yeah,
they might be 110 pounds on stage, 120 pounds on stage, but structurally they look a lot bigger, right? For instance, I'm not a big guy myself. But me at 190 walking around versus a peeled 165 with my shirt off, it's a much different look that you wouldn't think I was 165.
Right.
Right. So, but a guy, the average guy looks, it's just an average bodybuilder until I pull my shirt off and stand next to you. Right. So,
I think there's memes about that.
Yeah, totally.
It's depends on your shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How does it work?
I was shocked. Well, and I guess I've also gone back and looked at some of the original classic winners from so long ago, and it's wow, they're like half the guys in the gym, and that's Olympia stage, and now it's we're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger level and better, way better, winning in physique. It almost makes you wonder. It's okay, well now we're gonna have a junior physique, or what's the other thing we can add where normal people can compete again? Because it was supposed to open the doors, and now the door is closing.
I agree, and I think it's creating more emphasis that time is our best friend.
Yeah.
And I think too many people are trying to rush the progress.
Yeah.
And rush the process, and then starting to realize that okay, I need a few years here.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it continues to go to that direction, because what the other side of the negative side of this is, with how good these physiques are,
Mm-hmm.
is it's pushing the drug protocols to extreme levels.
Right.
I'll be bold and honest here. I've had athletes leave me because I'm not willing to give them the drugs that they want to take.
Yeah.
And again, that's just out of my own morale and and my own belief. And I believe that our time is our best friend here, not a drug. And we have to be very cautious of what we're doing.
Right.
I'm a definitely big believer in the sport and longevity. If you're going to live it, you're going to breathe it, you're going to live this life, do things a smart way so we can make this long term.
Yeah.
Don't worry about being a pro next year. Be a pro in 5 years.
Right.
Or
compete natural, whatever.
Or compete
There's lots of
natural
shows.
100%. Your choice is yours, what direction you want to take. But I think that people need to really address the fact that that this sport takes time.
Yeah. I always worry about if I just see the side effects and just think, I'm going to be that guy that if I ever took something, I'm just going to have every side effect. So it's going to be really bad.
And it's not a bad way to look at things.
Yeah.
It's because that's just creating more awareness.
Yeah.
That there always is the risk versus reward.
Yeah.
Anything we take, anything we do.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to weigh those differences, right? And
Yeah.
what's worth it to you. And from a coaching perspective, I'm going to have to weigh on your health.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put you in a position to put your health at risk. And before we go move forward with anything, I want your approval. If I'm going to provide you with a plan, I want you to go study that plan. I want you to understand that plan and say, okay, if you're comfortable with it, great, we move forward. If you're not comfortable with it, then I'm going to work with you as an athlete.
Yeah.
We're going to find another solution.
And
so
make sure you're doing blood work.
being on top of things.
Yeah. I guess on the flip side of my experiences, I think it would be great not to be in pain all the time.
Yeah.
And to be able to grow a little bit. My experience year over year growth wise is zero. I'm constantly working out and eating and everything. I bet you if I gained a pound in a year, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So then it makes you think, okay, well I dumped, I don't know, probably 1,000 hours into the gym for what?
Yeah, totally.
At the end of it, wow.
I mean, sometimes, for us being in the gym, it's not necessarily always about getting that
No,
muscle. It's about recovery, dealing with an injury,
Yeah.
Maybe dealing with, a digestive issue that put us back weeks and we're trying to
Yeah.
figure the body out, right? Going through a health phase where we're simply trying to get the body back to a healthy state.
Yeah.
Before we start pushing for that growth or that fat loss. I think a lot of the time when working with lifestyle clients of mine, I need to really address that.
Mm-hmm.
They come to me eating 600 calories and tell me they want to lose 10 more pounds of body fat. Well, I'm like, listen, we got 6 weeks, you eat 2,000 calories plus before we even start this. You're doing 100 calories of cardio a day, and that's all you're doing for the next 6 weeks. But then, the ones that you're able to kind of, they build that trust in you and they see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They see the process, and then they see, okay, I was stalled out for a year straight. I took 6 weeks to kind of get things reset, and here we are now. And now I'm back to losing weight, feeling good, and progressing.
Yeah, that's what's interesting is I'm an older athlete now. I guess I have to own it because I only really compete in masters events now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the thing that I have to manage more than anything is just the pain component, because it's so easy to get injured now as I get older. When I was a kid, I'd get under, tweak my shoulder in the bench press. A week later, it was it was gone completely. Now it lasts months.
Yeah.
So it's not pleasant.
Totally agree. Me myself personally, been dealing with a herniated disc for the last year. And so, my goal right now is not to get bigger. Yeah. My goal is to maintain my strength, maintain my physique, to what I've created, not lose it. And while trying to, mitigate the pain and, and try to, reduce the inflammation and get my back feeling healthy again.
Yeah.
Just so it doesn't hurt to sit for a couple hours and walk up and down, So it's, again, I think all depending on, again, again, it's not always about just building that pound of muscle, right? So it all depends on what we're facing.
Yeah, it's tough too. Like something like that, that's a structural damage where you're not just, you didn't tweak a muscle and you didn't overwork a muscle. Now it's real structural things to get fixed.
Yeah, and it's not an easy fix. It doesn't happen overnight, right? So it's something that you got to really day in and day out put focus into. And I was that guy. I got injured. No, going right back to the gym. No, I'm not stopping. No, like a year later, here I am learning my own lesson, right? So it's
I'll tell you a funny story. So I used to be, my brother and I, we worked out all the time, and we did a lot of overhead press and seated press, and we were doing it one time. And we were doing heavy weights. And like, what's in my head about the weight seems extremely high. Must be wrong. But I separated my AC joint, so the clavicle comes apart.
I've done the same.
Comes apart going up. Mm-hmm. And the doctor said, look, we can either open you up and fix it, and it's still going to be like 6 to 9 months before you recover, or you can take a year off and working on your shoulders. And so I took a year off, got back into it, and I was working out. Everything was great. And then we were on a company team builder. We were going to go bowling. And so I was just being dumb, and I grabbed a bowling ball, rammed my fingers into it, and it was way too tight. And I go to launch the ball in front of the entire team of staff. I launch it, and it stays attached to my hand.
Oh no!
And so my arm's like up in the middle of nowhere, and I landed on the floor and separated the other shoulder.
Oh no!
Really nice. So another year down. Yeah, it was really.
Yeah, I think, but I mean it's a big thing, I guess, as our age gets up there.
Yeah.
And it's just how much more to be aware of these situations, right?
Yeah.
And again, back to my point about creating some longevity out of this and realizing that these injuries can happen.
Yeah.
And what are we doing now to prevent them later?
Warm up.
Yes. Yeah. Stretching.
Didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah. But it's but that's the thing. It's like, I've worked with some guys transitioning out of the powerlifting.
Mm.
And I've seen the damage that they've done to the body. And it's just this extreme to the extreme. I actually love working with these guys because of the fact that they understand what failure really truly is.
Yeah.
And what it takes to actually force growth and force strength. I mean, following strength is growth.
Yeah.
The body has to adapt. If you're trying to force it to be stronger, it's got to recruit tissue.
Yeah.
Right. So, but obviously from we're not dealing with the 1 to 2 rep maxes, and we're dealing with like that 6, 8, 10 range.
Yeah.
For the bodybuilding side of things, and working with a lot of the compound stuff they do, but a lot of those smaller muscles, that we're putting to use, right?
And you're stressing them out a lot too. People
Absolutely.
don't realize how much damage you can cause those little guys, and that takes you out of the gym.
Yeah, all that accessory stuff.
Yeah.
And but again, it's those big compound movements that are really going to help us build that density, and it's those accessory movements that are really going to help us really round our physique out,
right?
And create those looks.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned intensity, and it's kind of a topic of mine. Is that I feel like when I first started going to the gym, and maybe it was that the gyms that I went to or that existed at the time, they were very dominated by rusty old weights and crappy old equipment, but the intensity was really high, and everyone was always it's kind of like the old Arnold videos, where there's 5 Olympia stage guys all standing around while one guy's Columbo's doing squats or something,
Yep.
But it feels like just over I don't know what period of time, but it just feels like there's been this downgrade of intensity at gyms in general. There's a lot of hanging out and talking. It's a club.
It's a social scene.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's I may prescribe a plan to someone, and I get the response, Ryan, I hate this plan.
Yeah,
it's not working for me. Well,
how long did it take?
Yeah, how long did it take? I'm like, okay, what we're going to do, you're going to come to the gym with me now, and we're going to go through that exact same program, and bring your puke bucket.
Yeah,
I'm not changing your program. It's what's the intensity that you put into it.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, it's not just going, hitting that 10 to 12 range of reps, or your top sets or your back off sets, or we're always pushing to those failure points. We're always trying to give the body a reason to grow, give the body a reason to gain that strength. just because you hit 10 to 12 reps doesn't mean you do it. I can do it with 5 pounds. I can do it with 50 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, how intense are
And you can
doing?
cheat it the whole time.
Yeah.
And not hurt at all.
But I mean, you know, a lot of people miss that. I mean, I can have the best diet in the world, you know, given to someone for a growth phase. And if they're not putting in that intensity, they're not going to grow. You're not giving it a reason to. So, you know, you kind of made a point there a little while ago about, oh, you know, do this exercise and double your bicep size.
Yeah.
You know, like it's there's just so much more to it. It's like, okay, if, you know, your proper rest, recovery, diet, training, you know, the entire picture is not being looked at. Well, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of comes down to even like my beliefs around my coaching. You know, you see a lot of different programs out there. You know, try my workout program, try my diet. I will not coach someone unless I have oversight of their entire process. And you know, when someone signs on with me, it's not this, can I get a training program with you? I'm like, no, what you're doing is you're hiring me as a coach to provide you with all aspects. And so I give my my clientele the option of time commitment.
Yeah.
And that's where my pricing changes. You know, as far as what or as far as what I charge is because I believe that I'm not going to leave gaps.
Yeah.
And you know, if you want this entire progress to work, or this entire process to work, that you're going to have to nail all aspects of it.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's the funny thing, you probably see it too, is that you know, you could easily download a program online. There's tons of them.
Easy.
You know, and the reality is awful lot of them work. You know, like they don't have to be, it's not like, oh, you did 11 reps, you should have done 10, or you must do 12. Like it's, I think you should never, you know, I should never really convince someone that my training program is so much better. You know, like you just got to get in there and get something done, get some work done. And, you know, there is, obviously you don't want to do, there's certain things that, you know, you don't want to do because it's just kind of a waste of time, junk volume or whatever the case may be. But it was interesting, you've probably been through the Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yeah, I've read through it.
Every time I look at it, I think there is nothing new today. Everything's in there. It's weird, like so much is in that book.
The thing is that people have forgot the basic fundamentals.
Oh yeah.
There's way too many fads. I think people are always looking for the next best thing. That's just society now these days.
Yeah.
And forgetting the fact that your chicken and rice meal and your hard work and your 8 hours of sleep and your 4 liters of water is all it took.
And so that's the interesting thing about the whole coaching environment. It's not, I think some people are waiting for you to show up with here's the magic program. You know, and that's not what's going to happen. But it's the accountability and it's the push and it's you're going to work out harder and do more. And you're going to do it for the right reasons and it's going to be for you. And it's
absolutely.
A lot of people don't get that.
They don't, and they miss, you know, especially the big factor of consistency.
Yeah.
This is something we're going to do day in and day out and day in and day out.
Yeah.
And that, again, looking at the longer term side of things, is that we're not going to see it completely. You know, it's not always going to be on an uphill climb, right? It's going to be linear in some ways. But again, the more the consistent you are on point through your training, your rest, your recovery, your diet, 90% of the time, and you want to enjoy yourself the other 10. Over a long period of time, it's going to bring a lot.
You have to enjoy it. You're right.
You got to enjoy it.
You don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go when you were at the Olympia this year or last year? Did you go to Dragon's Lair Gym?
I didn't.
Oh, dude, you should have gone. You're gonna have to go take a trip.
We chose to do Powerhouse.
Oh, okay.
Which is owned by Hidetada and Iris Kyle.
Yeah.
Was able to meet them both and have
that's cool.
We had some good conversations with them. There was a lot of the pros in their training,
Yeah.
so we missed the Dragon's Lair, but that was cool to see those guys. So
yeah, that's awesome. I was down there in the summer last year. We went to Dragon's Lair and we just showed up with our gym bags and our shorts, you know. And everyone else shows up, gym bag in one hand, belt over their shoulder, tripod in their other hand. Everyone. It was crazy how much videotaping was going on in there. It was shocking.
I think that's in every gym now.
Unless it's restricted.
Yeah.
And then even then it's still happening.
And I'm the guy to walk by you and say, oops, sorry, I tripped. Sorry, your tripod's on the ground now.
Yeah, I actually, half the time I mostly just laugh at people when they're videotaping themselves because I think they're doing it TikTok video. But the other day I videotaped my squat, and then I was just like, man, I should have done that a long time ago, because, man, what a mess.
Totally.
It was just a dumpster fire, and I'm going to restart the whole squatting exercise.
Yeah, I think the whole coaching aspect is everyone wants the coaching lifestyle, and it's I'm a coach, I love it.
Yeah.
But I think that this coaching world is very, very oversaturated now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that everyone's trying to utilize these tripods and these recordings of them in the gym to create business. But the problem is that everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
So
I was shocked. Like, you've probably seen it as well, and it probably comes up in your algorithm on YouTube or whatever. But there's, you get these ads from companies that are gonna, you're gonna go from making $1,000 a month to $50,000 a month. I can literally count easily how many people I know who have coaches, and I have a hard time counting how many people are coaches. That's shocking.
Yes.
And then how you could just like magically pick up and you're just getting an extra 50 customers this weekend. It's like, that is not going to happen.
No, so not only is there a push for everyone to be a coach, but there's a big business push now to learn how to be a coach, and I'll show you how to make 50%. Right? I think a lot of it has a ton of great value in what these guys are offering, but a lot of them, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's just teaching everyone the same thing.
Yeah.
And and when it comes down to it, I've been in this game a long time, and I've seen a lot of what works and what doesn't. You will not go on my Instagram and my Facebook or my business pages, and you might find maybe one workout of me, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm highlighting my athletes. I'm highlighting the results that I produce. I'm highlighting the transformations I create. Sure, I might throw the odd tip up there, the odd thing to consider, but I don't want to go to your Instagram page and see 50 videos of you working out. Show me what you did to someone else and how you helped someone else achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And that's big and that's key. And I think that's what a lot of people in this, coming into the industry and looking for coaches, and hiring the right coaches. And I can list off a dozen great coaches right now. And, guys that I would trust in my own hands, right?
Yeah.
Or I, gladly let them take control of what they did with me.
Yeah.
But again, because they are results based, they're showing me that they've spent the time, they've been in the trenches for years, they've worked with a ton of different physiques, and these are the coaches that I really appreciate surrounding myself with.
Yeah.
Just because again, they're highlighting their businesses and what they've done based on not their physique. Yeah. It's what they can produce.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's probably it's maybe that 80-20 rule. There's 80% of these coaches can create a plan for you. I could do kick out a program for you, no problem at all. I'm just going to download it, put it onto my letterhead, and send it to you, and then anybody can say, okay, here's your macros. So it's 1 gram per pound, good enough. 0.5, whatever. You just use math and you just say, okay, there's your program. But the reality behind coaching is not even that. Like, that's part of it, but it's keeping a person consistent and then watching those fluctuations and why did that fluctuation happen, and then keeping them motivated. That seems to me like it's the whole motivation thing seems to be such a big deal.
Totally.
So anyway, big day today. So hopefully everything goes really great. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, I'm excited. Small from what I've been told, but I'm pumped with the team that I'm showing up here and the 4 athletes. Yeah. They are conditioned. Yeah, they are ready to go. They're all getting in their own head right now, and am I ready? Am I not? And I'm sitting back here, and I'm pretty content that things should go pretty well for them. Yeah. We'll see who shows up, and what type of other physiques are there, but our girls are good.
I'll put a link to your site and everything as well on the description when we post it up. So
amazing.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. So anyways, we'll look forward to seeing you tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Start of the season, we've got a lot of shows coming up.
When's your next show that you're going to be in?
Oh, I don't know.
We should have some sort of friendly gentleman challenge.
Yeah, Rob. I think I need that push. I mean, I've obviously put all of my efforts right now into the coaching,
Yeah.
because that's where my focus needs to be, right? So just with the amount of athletes I have, like, you know, I've got 30 plus in prep right now,
Yeah.
over 5 shows. I mean, I'll be back out for the Alberta Open there for May.
Yep.
I think that single show alone, we'll see who can stick it out,
Yeah.
you know. But I think right now, I'm up to about 16 athletes for that
Holy
show.
smokes.
So
Wow.
I'll be
That'll
back
be
and
fun.
forth a lot. So I'll be going to all as many BC shows as I can, and many Alberta shows, probably in some Saskatoon shows this year, and then as well as all the pro qualifiers.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting.
This weekend's the kickoff.
Maybe we'll get some candid clips tonight or at the show. That'll be fun. So
Yeah, I'll be running around with the
throw 'em
chicken.
into the
I'll be running around with the chicken's head cut off, but I'll be there for sure.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much for
we're right
coming.
on.
Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Craig.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, this is Craig. Thanks for watching this episode. I have a number of really interesting people that I'm going to be speaking with over the next while. Don't miss an episode. They're going to be great. If you have a chance, jump over to the partnerstaffing.com website. All the links to the videos that we're doing that are employment related will be there. Anyways, hit subscribe. Special thanks to our editor, Chris Filosovich. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Craig out.